Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, I wanted to talk about how I overcame my mental health issues and struggles and give you some tricks about it because, again, I'm a really technical guy and I want to help anybody that's going through that. So, again, if you're not personally going through it or you never experienced it, it's easy for you or anybody to say that it doesn't exist. We're still living in a time that's still stigmatized. Depending where you're living in, if you're more in the east, I'm not sure. I'm not from there, so I cannot necessarily be like a do a testimony about that. Me, I live in the west in Canada, so again, take that in consideration. But those tips and tricks I'm gonna mention after will be I believe that could apply in anything because again mental health it's all about bettering yourself in your state of mind and just being a better person at the core. And again, I want to start by mentioning my story because that's gonna help you understand maybe my points and how it could help you, because a lot of time I'm not just on here jumping and saying random things. I did experience some struggles too, and I believe everybody does. And sometimes that's just good to hear, right? So it could be just my story that could help, but also the tips and tricks I'm gonna mention at the end quickly. But yes, so I started struggling at 15 years old. So, and I only got diagnosed or went for a diagnosis at 17, and I'm gonna mention that a little bit later. But the why I went to get diagnosed. It's because at 15 my parents got divorced. At 15, because divorce and stuff, I moved town, so I went to a new school, new town, and during that time, this was at my peak period or crucial period for dirt biking because I was trying to get become pro at dirt biking. So I was really I was competing, and so it wasn't just one thing that kind of not necessarily triggered me, but led down a darker path, let's say, or a harder path. A lot of times we expect maybe somebody that's we hear story that somebody went through a hard scenario or that just launched that and got into that darker path, but it could be a lot of small things. And again, pain is pain. At the end of the day, we cannot compare what we're going through. Everybody's is different. So we cannot judge, if you're, example, not having mental health issue, we cannot judge somebody that's thinking that they're struggling. Again, it doesn't matter whatever you're going through. It's how, at the end of the day, our mind processes it, and everybody's different. So we need to take that into account. And we need to remember that for ourselves also, right? This is really important. So like I said, it wasn't just one thing. It was all that together. And again, I'm not saying I went through the craziest thing. I believe that it's really maybe normal what I went through, or a lot of people will go through it, you know? Again, this is maybe another topic, maybe for athlete. The pressure really broke me down, and the school part, the moving, that was maybe more englobed with some anxiety that I had from before that I was still carrying with me, that I didn't deal with it. So again, now that I'm able to speak about it and I'm able to break it down, this is how I'm gonna give some tips to you guys that needs it, or girls, and I'm gonna show that to you how I got comfortable. And it's not easy. Again, it was a process. Now I'm 24, and let's just say it's been I've been in my mind, it's trying to get better for 4 years now. And the last year I really had to push into really finding my purpose, finding my reason. And so it's a constant battle. That's all I'm trying to say, right? So now I was dealing with that, was leading a hard path for 4 years or so, and it went to a point that I couldn't see in front of me. It's everything's in. And I'm explaining this for people that maybe didn't experience, or people that are going through it can relate at a certain point. And it felt like it was a mountain, like not any just mountain in your backyard. It seemed like I was at the base of the Everest, the highest mountain on planet Earth, and I had to climb it to resolve my problem. And that's basically like without training, without anything, without a tent. Like it literally seemed impossible. I didn't see the end, and how I describe it, it was that I wasn't seeing a light. Because a lot of time we can say like an expression could be like, "Hey, focus on the good, positive, focus on the light at the end of the tunnel," or whatever in that like scenario. Like just concentrating on good. I wasn't seeing any good. Like I was at a point that I lost the light. I was in complete darkness, and I was really in a fight or flight mode. Let's say, like every single day, like I lost myself. I didn't like, and this is where I lost how to interact with people. I lost my emotions. I lost everything. I was basically numb. That was my only means of survival, to be honest. Until my mom saw it, and she told me, "It's okay. Like I'll bring you to talk to a psychologist." Again, I was still young, maybe I'm not sure if it was 18, 17, around that time, because I went to a youth special place that they were doing some volunteering, and she brought me there, and they told me that man, I actually like I broke down crying, like talking to the guy, because I was so confused. They tell me, "Okay, what's your problem?" So I don't necessarily have a problem. Like it's not something, again, like I told you, like especially at that time I had no clue. Like I had no knowledge how to break everything down and explain it to them. And this is one thing that I have a hard time with, like psychologists. Again, I always recommend to go talk to a professional. This is my personal experience. It's really good to do them. Like I believe they're getting better, and they're maybe the one that I got didn't really have much experience. Again, this is really personal for me. I'm not taking anything away from it. Do talk to a professional. I'm gonna take this time to do talk to a professional. And this is in any regards. If you're in the religious path, go talk to a professional, like to who is the leader. And anything like that. I'm not a professional. I don't have any certifications. Again, I just want to disclaim that this is my personal experience, right? And so, for me, the guy didn't really help in that sense. To conclude that, he just said like, okay, have more sleep and eat better foods to give you more energy. Again, like that wasn't my problem at all. Like I don't think so. Maybe that could have helped, but I was so far gone that even sleeping, like. I didn't really care about that. Like that was secondary. I was just trying to survive, like I said. Like I had no light at all. So I was kind of hesitant about that. And at that point, good or bad, like again, scenarios, everything happens for a reason in that case, right? That's how I see it, and that's how how I kept like my head over the water, let's say, like without drowning. And I'm saying this because it clicked, but it didn't, right? Like I wasn't like out of it by just realizing that I'm all by myself. I realized that was my first stage. Let's say that, okay, I'm the one that's gonna carry me out of my situation, let's say. That was my first step, because I was a lot, like when you're younger too, depending on when you're going through, you're relying a lot on your parents, on your friends, to take decisions. Or maybe not as much as your friend, maybe your parents. And my parents were really good. Like they were not bad at all. Like I loved them and everything. Like it's nothing against them. Like they were really good parents. Again. But they were structuring me and taking so much decisions for me at that point, that when it was up to me, I didn't know where to go, how to take decisions, right? And that's the thing, that the person not helping me really made me realize, reflect that, okay, I'll need to work to make myself out of this situation. Nobody can necessarily help me. And so that was my first realization. But the thing is, it didn't come into action right away. It kept on getting darker until I hit uh, like suicidal thoughts. And to this point, it's still really hard to remember because my brain blocks out those memories because it was so dark. So it's really special. I don't know if some people can relate to that. Again, I didn't really talk to a lot of people about it because it's kind of deep. But it's really like I tried twice, maybe around that time. I don't want to lie because it doesn't have any purpose to it. When twice, and my, like, let's say the second time, again, I didn't go to the hospital. It wasn't at that point yet. Just to clarify that, like I wrote some notes, thought about it, planned it, but wow, that's really, like, that's setting me different. But it never like went up to the action part, right? Like it never got into plan. But the second time, again, I was in the process of planning and stuff like that and everything. And the day of that I was planning, this is where I looked outside the window and I saw the stars, I saw the world, I saw the trees, I saw the wind, and something hit me. That again, that's another. That's when I found more of this, my spiritual side of it. But yeah, this is just a little bit how I went. And the thing is, spiritual or not, if you are or if you're not, it's more about, again, the core lessons I learned is about moving, taking the decision to get better. At that point, I decided, because at that point I was 18, I was a little bit older, was still moved town. I moved town earlier. Like that was one of my core thing that made me go into like depression and all that and all that stuff, right? So again, going back to when I looked outside, I realized earlier that I needed to take my own decisions. So I stopped my dirt biking. Just to get more background about that, I started at 3 years old, and until that point, I was like 18. So I did that for 15 years. That was my whole life. That's all I knew. And a lot of times I categorize that as, just to explain it, to help explain it, I categorize that as a religion, basically, like something you live on. Again, maybe it's not the right term or right word to use, and forgive me about that, but it's like you worship that, let's say, you know what I mean? That's all you knew. Like that's all I knew. And so I was so attached, and this is what kept me there for so long, because I didn't want to quit on my dreams. And it was the hardest decision to take. And this is why it led me to that path. And for so long, I didn't want to let it go. It was because of my dirt biking, because my dream since I was like 3 years old was to become a professional. And so I had to step away from that to see the bigger picture, and the sky, the trees, and again, that, like, what I felt that time made me see that there was a way bigger purpose of why I'm alive than becoming a professional. But it's really hard because I didn't have the knowledge, right? We can't always see it. But again, so I had to stop with my dirt biking. I moved towns, and like I was living comfortably in the house and everything. And I'm saying this because it's really hard downgrading. Once you achieve those levels and you go up, I want to say, in life or anything, and you do, once you like climb up the ladder, it's really hard to go down because you feel like a failure. And this is a bit like, again, those emotions that you need to realize, and it's okay to feel like that, but it doesn't need to stop you from taking the decision that your decision, right? So what you want. All that to say that I moved from like a comfortable house, comfortable environment, like let's say perfect environment, let's say like to a 1-bedroom apartment, like with my mom and sister. So I was sleeping like basically on the couch for a couple months, and I would, like, again, it wasn't worst case scenario. There's people that are living in worst case. It's not the point, and I'm not complaining about it. It's just, again, that downgrade that hits different, right? but still going for it. This is what I'm encouraging you to do. Don't be scared. Don't of downgrading or to don't bear with me. Don't be scared of downgrading to take it to move forward. Right, your path is gonna lead you in different ways, and so this is a bit my story that I wanted to talk about. If you have questions, I might elaborate on more specific things again because life is really complicated, and if I can dig down and like move some rocks and be even more clear on a certain situation, please leave a comment. If it's gonna help you out, I'm more willing to do it. And again, always talk to professionals. Always talk to the people that you trust into your circle if you're able to get what's better for you. Again, I'm no professional. This is just my story again. So I want to give tips and tricks what helped me again get to this point to be able to talk about it to you guys and to my family, to my friends. Again, I'm not perfect. I still have a hard time talking. But again, it's just going from that point that I was emotionless, wasn't talking to anybody. I was fight and flight mode to now that I'm able to talk to you guys right now. That was a process, right? So the first thing that I'm able to tell you is, again, realize that it's up to you, right? Like, you need to put in the effort. If you're spiritual or not, again, you need to want to move that ball. People can help you to an extent, but it will never stick until you decide to move. And I cannot emphasize enough, move. This is all that matters. It doesn't matter where, how. Again, you don't need the perfect path. It doesn't make sense. The only thing that needs to make sense, it's in your heart. If you feel like you need it, make that move. And that's, I want to incorporate into that your inner voice. When I was emotionless, you're in that point that it's really hard to kind of lose track of time, of the world and everything. And you lose track of yourself, again, your emotions. And you need to find that little voice in your head. And this is by reflecting, and this is when you're going to find how you're thinking. It's really hard to explain, but example, that little voice could be, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to work. You don't necessarily say it out loud, right? It's that little voice in your head saying, you're going to deal with stuff. You're going to have pressures. You're going to fail. You assume a lot of things in your head. And this could be, again, that's not necessarily just mental health. This can be just to get better in any situation, right? So this is why I'm saying that it's not specific mental health. It could be applied in any situation to just gain an advantage, or to get just better. All that to say, be aware that little voice that's stopping you. It could be, again, oh, I'm too lazy. Oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to go to the gym. It's that little voice that's coming inside your head that's saying and finding you excuses. And when your world is dark around you for mental health issues, you trust that little voice in your head because that little voice wants to bring you comfort. But that little voice is faking comfort. This is the issue of that little voice. It's gonna keep you at the same spot because it doesn't want to change. I guess it's like your survival mode. And it's super weird how the human brain works. But you need to understand the voice is there. This is the first step. Just understand and realize that voice is there. And again, that's a process, right? The second thing, now that you understood your voice, it's finding yourself. So what I mean by that is that it's not just stepping out, oh, I know myself. It's not like that. It's really understanding that there's something off. So you understand your voice is there, it's dragging you down, or in a situation it doesn't want you to move, right? So then after, it's like, okay, you understand the voice is there, now it's understanding your heart. That's like, okay, I understand something is wrong, that I cannot continue in that in that whatever direction you're in. And so how I did it, again, these are all my personal tricks. It's finding your strengths and weaknesses. And the easiest part for me to do it, because my brain was just like everywhere, is writing it down on a piece of paper. I know, it might sound dumb, but it helped me out. And it's not about what you write. This is the most important. You need to be so authentic with yourself. You need to be true to yourself. It doesn't matter if you put your strength in saying, "Oh, I'm good at this, good at that." Okay, like you just, sorry to my expression, but you're just bullshitting yourself more. It won't gonna help you, right? This is for yourself. It's for your inner self, and you might need to do it like 5 or 10 times to really be authentic with yourself and to peel those layers back, right? So find your strengths and weaknesses. It's gonna help you just realize more about yourself in that circumstances. And then after, that's gonna bring you more knowledge about yourself, right? It's gonna direct you to where you want to go. The third thing will be self-talk. And the self-talk, more specifically positive self-talk, is really important. Like depending where you're at, where you are, if you're on the like really like a bad place, just stopping the negative talk can really help a lot, and just being neutral. And then after, once you're neutral, then when you stop just doing negative talk, that's when you can start doing the positive talk, right? So it's not just positive talk, because it's not realistic. For me, I really struggled with that because I didn't really realize it. Again, because I was in a darker environment. Even after I got better, even after I moved, like I want to clarify that. That's not just like, oh, I did all those steps along, like, oh, when I moved out and when I got better. Nah, I still apply that today. Like, positive talk is still something I struggle with, and because we're really hard on ourselves. We're really good at bringing ourselves down. And again, that could be a lot of reasons, right? It could be social media, but this is a different topic. But just realize that you're doing negative talk is the first step. Then try to stop it slowly, or realize when you say it's like, damn, I'm actually saying this. Then try to stop it, and then try to do some positive talk. And this is the process that you always do. We're always juggling it, right? So this is just food for thoughts. Keep that in mind. And to help with that, to help with the positive talk, it's writing down your wins. A lot of times we don't realize what we do, what we overcome. It's kind of, oh, okay, like we forget about it, and we only remember about our loss, right? So it's like, why? Again, the brain is so odd. At least for me, like, let's say just I'll put myself in that boat. But so write down what you did, right? So when I started stacking up the W's, I call it your wins. That's when it's like, wow, I actually did some good stuff. And whatever it is, it could be the smallest thing. Again, this is what we forget. If it's just like, man, I went to school when I didn't want to, this is the win. Because you were able to control your present circumstance, control that little voice again. And that's a W. If you just, again, it could be anything, to the smallest detail to the biggest, like most defined, like graduating, or like, you know, winning a championship, winning a trophy. It's not all physical things that you need to hold in your hand for you to have a W. And I'm saying this because now that you're going, if you're in a situation that's bad, or you're talking negatively, or in any situation, again, I use that for my anxiety. If you're going to a store, and I don't know, I still don't understand how anxiety works, but it just hits you and like you're starting like almost shaking, and you're having red spots, and could be even a presentation in front of a class, or just reading a freaking book in front of a class. In my situation, it's remembering that, wow, I was able to go through it before. I was able to achieve that. I was able to get up in the morning even though I didn't want to, and I really felt like garbage before, and I still went. You see, when you start realizing that, that's when you get, okay, I got this. And once you realize you got this, you start to calm down, right? So this is the whole process of saying why. Write it down again if you need to. Do it 5-10 times. At first time I did that, I was at blank paper. And just to, again, I'm not gonna brag, it's just because I didn't see it, right? Like I told you, my dirt biking, I won a lot of races. I won championships in between those races. But I still couldn't write it down because I didn't see it as a W. I just see it as normal because I feel like our W's is not as important as our loss, but it's actually the opposite. Because if I can count how much time I failed in my life, let's say 10 times max, how much did I win? I can't even count maybe. Like, you know what I mean? Like I told you, it's just about the small wins. Maybe over 100 times. We forget about that. Anyways, you get the concept. So do it, try to do it, and be patient with yourself, right? Find those little details. And the other case to help you with the W's is writing the hardest thing that you went through. Again, same purpose. Because writing down the hardest thing you went through will make you realize, wow, I went through that. So going to the gym, getting up in the morning doesn't take as much as a hard decision to make anymore. And this is where you slowly start understanding your brain and kind of controlling it in that sense, right? And the fourth one, you speak to someone. And if you cannot speak to someone, like I couldn't, like I told you before, I'm still struggling today to talk to somebody. I started by writing it down in a journal. In that journal, again, I had a hard time to write a journal. It took me a long time to just pick up the pen to do it, but have the intention to do it, right? So inside that number 4, it's like there's steps also to it. So take your time doing it. Don't just feel bad because you cannot talk to somebody, right? So never use my points that I say negatively because you can't do it. There's always steps to it. It's not just, oh, wow, I'll do it and you're saved and everything's getting better. It's a process to it. Realize that you need to write it down. Take your time. Don't force yourself. Be aware of it. Start writing a journal. If it could be a 1 line per day, 1 line per week, I don't really care. It could be about anything. It doesn't need to be about your struggles. This is what helped me too. Because at first I'm like, okay, I don't want to write my struggles. I already have my struggles. I know my struggles. Like, what's the point? It's just the point of putting it on a paper. It's like, sorry, like I guess it's more girls, but I guess guys too. But it's like gossiping. A lot of people they didn't talk just to gossip and just talk. But especially for introverted people, as you believe it or not, like me at that time, I was really introverted. I didn't really know how to even have a conversation. Like I didn't know how to keep a conversation or even start a conversation. Anyways, all that to say that it's just to write down, to express yourself and to learn how to express yourself. And this will move. Again, that's going to move you forward into your whole concept of understanding yourself and finding your purpose along the way. This is just a crutch, let's say, to help you and to be more stable. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? And eventually you're going to start talking to people or talking to a person that you're comfortable with. And then they can give you feedback and have that discussion, being more comfortable. Again, it's a process, but just write it down. It helps you. Again, this is just like a crutch, like I like to say. So, yeah, that was number 4. Number 5. Now it's controlling that little voice that I mentioned at the beginning, right? So now that you have all those steps, so again, I'll quick recap. Being aware of that little voice in your head. Second is finding yourself, writing your strength, your weakness, getting aware of that path of yourself. The third one is the positive talk, your self-talk, being aware of it. And then after your fourth is writing your journal. I don't know how I have my thumb. The fourth one, speaking to somebody. Then your fifth is really controlling that voice. And this is why, again, it doesn't need to be in those steps exactly. These are all things that I was doing along those way in finding myself and helping finding myself. If you're more comfortable starting with a journal, start with a journal. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be in those steps that I told you. It's just to be aware of all those things, right? So again, starting to controlling the little voice in your head. Again, it doesn't need to be in order. That can all be done simultaneously, all at the same time. And again, so if your voice saying, okay, don't go to school, you flip your switch and you're like, okay, no, I'm going. And saying that into your head, saying, I'm going, now you're dictating what you want to do, right? And so a lot of times it could be like, well, you kind of lose the sense of gut feeling. And this is true. This is something that I struggle with. Again, that feeling of, okay, how are other people perceiving? How are life happening to me? How can I ingest life and like handle life situation, let's say? Because I was so concentrating on controlling my little voice that it didn't really matter what happened around me. And this was because, again, I had lack of emotions way before that I was struggling with, and then incorporate that at controlling my brain, I was basically a robot. And so I'm saying this because be aware, right? Too much is like not enough. It's a constant thing that you need to adjust, readjust. But again, in that mindset, like that I was controlling my brain, I didn't really have emotion. Like, depending how you see it, could be negative or it could be positive, depending on your state of life. This is why, at the end of the day, like, you gotta be you. And this is, in all my steps, I'm encouraging you to be yourself and to finding yourself. This is the biggest thing. This is the whole purpose. The mental health aspect of things is not just talking to somebody. Oh, because you went to talk to somebody, are you good now? It could help, but the whole purpose of talking to somebody is to find yourself and to be yourself and being comfortable and embracing what you're doing and going through. And this is like, and this will bring my 6 point, the number 6. It's a daily task. It's not something that you can do for a week and then you're over it and you're good. Nah, like it's a daily task and there's no finish line. Whatever can resonate more with you. Like I told you before, like I'm still struggling to this day. Obviously not as much as before. Right now it's like refining and getting better, but I'm not stopping, because once you stop, you're going down, back down. Like, it's crazy. And so realize that all those steps that I gave you, the number 1 to 6, it's all incorporated together, right? There's no a specific structure. And if you don't like number 2, example, don't like number 5, like, it's all good. Like, don't do number 2 or number 5 if you're not comfortable with. But just realize it's there. If along the line you felt, okay, I can do this, realize, have that feedback to be open. But to sum it all up, find yourself. Be yourself. Be comfortable with yourself. To be comfortable in your mind, you need to be comfortable with yourself. Love yourself. Do some positive. Talk to yourself. It's all about you. Like, it's hard to say that because it kind of sounds selfish, but one thing that resonates with me is that to help others, you gotta help yourself first. You cannot help other people if you're not good with yourself. And by helping yourself, you're gonna help others. Simple tasks like that. So don't feel bad of taking time for yourself, embracing yourself, embracing your idea. And all this, hopefully it will gain you confidence. And confidence can be another topic, like a whole new topic. And I hope you benefit. If it's for mental health battles that you're going through, or if you didn't, I hope you should just learn a little bit more about mental health through my story. And guys, leave a comment. Guys or girls, sorry. You guys can leave a comment if you like it. if you disagree with a point, I'm always open to feedback. And again, I just want to finish again. I'm not a professional. Those steps what helped me. I always encourage you to talk to your leading leader in your community, and if you're in a religious any religious faith, or somebody that you trust into your specific circumstances. I wish everybody the best of life of today, and yes, subscribe. I really appreciate any comments or anything like that. Drop my Instagram if you want to follow me on a more regular basis. You can follow me on Instagram. It's samuel.brazo samuel.brazo.official. Send me questions if you have anything, and stay blessed, guys.